Have you ever imagined meeting a Nobel Prize winner? What would you want to know? Some Missouri Western students were honored with that opportunity this past summer on a study-away trip called Peace in Northern Ireland. They met Mr. John Hume, Nobel Peace Laureate. Here, Dr. Joanne Katz, professor of legal studies, and one of her students share their experience.
I've been interested in Northern Ireland for a long time. I teach mediation at the university and have been very involved with that. And what fascinated me about Northern Ireland, and I kind of watched it from afar when the peace talks were happening back in the 90s, was that terrorists, or people whom we usually would think we wouldn't negotiate with, were represented at this negotiation that happened in Northern Ireland. And so I was interested in learning more about it and to bring students there to show them that, in fact, what appears to be intractable conflicts can be resolved in peaceful ways, and for them to have an opportunity to see the country and learn about how that had happened. There were a total of 23 students. We partnered with Kansas State University, and they had previously been there on a trip. In 1998, the Nobel Peace Prize went to John Hume and to David Trimble because of the fact that there was a peace agreement. And actually, John Hume, who's the person we met, is really, we could almost look at as the father of the peace agreement. I mean, obviously, it's always bigger than that, but John Hume was a member of Parliament, a Catholic from Derry, which is where we were, and he proceeded to start having some talks with Sinn Féin, and this happened in the early 90s, or even before that, in the late 80s actually. And Sinn Féin was what became the political arm of the Irish Republican Army. So Sinn Féin became the people who sat in the negotiations for the terrorists. John Hume is now, we were at the University of Ulster, the McGee campus, which is in Derry. He's there as kind of a professor, but a professor with, he doesn't really teach there. He's kind of there, he knows every world leader, and he tries to bring in people for these speakers bureaus. Well, the university had a reception for us right when we came, within a couple days of when we came, a welcoming reception, and there he was. We didn't know he was coming, and everyone's jaws just went, just dropped when we saw him, because it was such a, such a great opportunity to get to meet him.
Meeting John Hume, you really don't know what to expect. As an American, we don't hear a lot about him in our news. He's a very eloquent speaker, and I believe it was either him or someone that's sitting next to him, I think it was John Hume, said, if you're not confused about the peace process in Northern Ireland, you're not paying attention. And it's true, because there's a lot of different parties where the names sound alike, like the Social Democratic Unionist Party and then the Labor Unionist, they go on, and I couldn't keep a scorecard of all of them. But he kind of encapsulated what the problems were in Northern Ireland and kind of what the key to peace was. And he very simply said it's about people, not land. He kind of broke it down to just that land is everywhere. It doesn't care who runs it. It doesn't feel, right? That's kind of what I took away from it. But the people that are living on the land, in this case Derry and the Ulster province, the Unionists versus the Republicans, they just had to kind of get to the heart of the people, and that was what he did. He did secret talks with a terrorist organization. That was thinking out of the box. So yeah, he deserved this Peace Prize. He did something that needed to be done that politically, I guess, to save face, wasn't going to happen. It kind of makes you realize that it's some troubles that we might have, say, in this country versus troubles that they have in Ireland or troubles that they have in the Middle East. They're all specific to the region, specific to their causes. But when you look at the John Hume's three points, people must respect diversity and differences. Nation must build institutions which respect differences, and we must spill sweat working for these ideals, not blood, those can be applied universally toward conflict.
Really, I think I went there with more of an idea towards we were going to learn about mediation. We were going to learn how they did this. And in fact, I think we learned a whole lot more about what it's like to live in a divided society, like he was saying about seeing these things. You were there. You were on the street. And everyone you talked to there had these experiences. One night I met these two women in a restaurant who were sisters, and they just told the stories about living through the Troubles. That's what they call this time. And we were all there at the restaurant that night. And you cannot learn this in a classroom. And yet the value and what you come away from it, which is they were so far apart, and they're working so hard now to live peacefully. And Derry, which was, as I've been told, was a city that looked just terrible. It was abandoned, and there were burned out buildings, and there were all kinds of things. It is a beautiful city. And so you see, while you're there, there's a museum, the Free Derry Museum we went to, and you see really how bad things had gotten, and then you're walking around this thriving city. It's a very hopeful feeling. I think you come away from it, hopefully with a feeling of that you could have a role in this, to be making these kinds of things happen in the world and other places.
If you're interested in study away opportunities at Western, visit MissouriWestern.edu/studyaway.